Of the International 13. So many internationals so far, my friend. Such a legacy, Tsunami.
So much history has been written in this venue as we are now getting ready. We have wrapped up the road and we are here on the final day to crown someone and inscribe another name onto that Aegis.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of people asked, was last TI the last one because we filled up the Aegis? Perhaps it was over. Then this one happened and they said, surely this is the last one. But no, look, if you peer onto the Aegis, we have a whole new row of Aegis, baby. That's Team Spirit last year. What, 1, 2, 3, 4. We got at least 7 more, I think. We got plenty of room, boys. It ain't over.
And here on this final day, we actually have an opportunity to maybe have some players write their name on this Aegis again.
Again?
Already waiting in grand finals is 33. Netta was able to inscribe his name in Singapore on Tundra, and he's looking for an opportunity to do it yet again with a fully different roster.
Goodness gracious, wasn't there another person on his team, if I remember correctly?
You are
Who's
correct.
officially here?
That's right.
Who might be a stand-in?
That is
Whose
also
name
correct.
starts with Sa?
Well, it sounds like you already know who it is.
Go ahead, tell me who it is.
It's Saksa! He is ready again. Didn't miss a beat from his time off and already putting on a show for everybody. But I think everyone knows who is waiting for an opportunity to put their name on there, not twice, but a third time on that Aegis.
Who?
Ladies and gentlemen, are you looking forward to seeing some Thompson today?
Yes, but there are many hopefuls, not just our past TI winners that are looking to put their name on the Aegis today. It should be one heck of a day. Now, we have seen a lot of 2-0s, we've seen a lot of stomps, but today is the chance for the greatest teams to play the greatest Dota we have seen so far this year! Are you ready to see it, Copenhagen?
After all, it may be an opportunity to put 5 new names on there with Gaming Gladiators. And maybe we might get a Liquid versus Gaming Grand Final, but I won't take any more of your time. Are you ready for the Dota?
All right. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to the greatest show in esports! Welcome to the final day of the International 13!
Slags and Tsunami sure know how to hype up a crowd, but it is the final day of TI 13. I'm going to be your host for this morning, Nat T, and welcoming my panel for the very last time. It's Fear, it's Winter, and it's Jenkins. Good morning. You guys are looking absolutely handsome, brushed up well for the final day.
Yeah, it's the final day at TI. You know, we got to be in our best fits and, of course, our best behavior. Winter, we have some fantastic storylines coming in here today. Yeah. There's only one team that can win that won't have a previous TI winner on it.
Yeah, that's Gaming Gladiators.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah, Slax and Tsunami were talking about. It's insane to think how fast 11 days has gone. We've gone all the way from 16 teams. Now only our top 3 are remaining, and it was in insane fashion in which they did all of these 2-0s happening on stage so far for you.
Yeah, it's only been 2-0 so far all the way across the board, so we'll see if that continues throughout today. But I think right now Tundra is that one team that a lot of people probably wouldn't have expected to get this far. They're going to be the dark horse for me, making it all the way to top 3. Sure, Liquid Game, and we've seen them in the grand finals many times before, but Tundra, even with a stand-in, looking like a contender.
Yeah. it could be this little triangle of which teams are going to be able to beat each other. But Winter, this top 3, is there one specific team you're turning your eyes towards?
I think Tundra, like Tundra, they already played the Gladiators in the upper bracket and they lost, but I'm pretty sure they've learned a lot out of that series and they've watched how Liquid were able to beat them. So this is going to be a very, very good one here.
Yeah, Tundra had to make their lower bracket run start yesterday, and in fact, we're going to have a look at all of our games that did play out yesterday. We had 4 best-of-3s, and let's get a little bit of a refresh for what happened.
The hits in Watson, he has to bail out. He's going to try and TP him away, but Skeeter's in with the Dragon Tail. Bushwhack to follow things up. Falcons, they're making this fight so difficult for Cloud9 to play. And now Cloud9, they've just got to run. Kantomi's going to get chased down by a Mine Snake. He gets into the trees, leaping away, but the Starstorm finds him. Watson's left alone. Falcons, they'll take the team fight. Skeeter's in with the Dragon Tail. Watson's not going to be getting back to the base right now. The buybacks are coming out. They're trying to save him, but Watson's gone. Out for 90. No one. He's got them coming in with a burst trap, but they just don't have the damage to kill Falcons off as Maureen survives. No one at the other god. GG is called. Falcons take the series 2-0.
He's got an Aegis. He's got some time walks. He's going to have to make some smooth moves to get out of this one. His first life is already forfeit.
Where's the help? Everybody's so far on the map for XG.
A hook shot to follow this up, perhaps. Immediately a fear is going to be used, and they got him easily. A Requiem that barely touches Tundra. Sitting up in the back, jumps through the trees. The Wukong's command, dead center is Pure, and he's already been hit by some stuns. They are all in to kill the low drone, but Pure got his BKB up. They got a bear kill. Now they have to come in for the Roshan. Ame for it, but Ramses with the hit. Whitebot gets the hook, and Ramses takes the Aegis. Denies Ame his chance at immortality. It is ripped away from him, and Tundra stomp Extreme into the ground.
The Aghanim Scepter puts the end to Tofu. Quinn gets the stun off first, pops the BKB. Sonic Wave onto 2, though. The Doom onto Quinn. He tries to get the high ground. Whirlwind with the Overgrowth combination, just shredding these heroes on Gaming Gladiator's side. Quinn is going to be next, but he was doomed at the beginning of the fight. They're going to buy back in mass. But 33, he might be the first to fall for Liquid. He's on the other side of the trees. Tofu eventually, no! He actually lives on Doom some way, somehow.
Misses on the hook shot, and Dyrachyo standing tall. Now Nisha steps forward, knows that there's not much that can kill him. Do they have anything else that they want to throw out right now? There's the shackle shot. They need to keep that Muerta alive. Quinn trying to block the damage, but it's not going to happen. Muerta's gone. Ace does not have what it takes to take down the rest of Liquid. They are way too strong, and they fought out for this fight. No buybacks, 4 dead. Team Liquid closing this one out. GG. Ramses is dead off to the side. Still the Raptors standing out. Great boundless strike. The jump in finds Thompson. He's dead. Damage out from Whitemon. This Enchantress is hitting very hard. The buyback comes, but there's no buyback for Malrine. Skidder, they need to get more kills. They got to take a couple more of these guys down. Pure ready to hit right into him, but look at him. Whitemon up on the high ground. Only Mana can stop this spree. Coming from the Enchantress. Snaking, he's still standing there right up front and center, wanting to kill him off. The smiles coming from Ramses. He knows what's happening. GG is called. Amar out with the stop. Now Snaking looking for the chase down, pulls him back in, but immediately interrupted again. Saksa right on point. Skinner nowhere left to go. He too is gonna die. Falcons, they do not have enough left in the tank. GG is called. Tundra eliminate Falcons.
It was a massive day yesterday. We saw 3 teams go home. Our top 6 became our top 3. And I mean, Tundra being able to survive both of those elimination games for themselves. It was a massive one, Jenkins. And that is what has put them in such a great position for the potential rematch that is going to happen. Well, the potential rematch that is happening up against Gaming Gladiators, who they faced on the very first day of TI13 here on the main stage. They were 2-0'd by Gaming Gladiators in the upper bracket. Liquid got that 2-0 over Cloud9. That's how we saw Team Liquid and Gaming Gladiators face off against each other again yesterday. But that lower bracket run that Falcons unfortunately had ended for them yesterday, it was doing amazing. All the way back from round number 2, they took out 1W. Then it was BB Team Cloud9, but unfortunately just wasn't able to make it to the very last day there for you.
Yeah, and I feel like Tundra here has been like the most improved team so far of the tournament. You know, Gaimin, they've looked really good. Liquid have looked really good. And when Extreme went up against Tundra, it felt like didn't really have much of a chance. And I feel like Tundra has added a lot of new heroes to their hero pool that are just looking really good. You have to deal with Thompson's Sniper, something that he's been pulling out his first pick now. Where before they were thinking about flexing the support, like, nah, Thompson's just too good on it. We're just going to pick it. You have to worry about Ramses Sanking. You have to worry about his Mars. And on top of that, Lone Druid came out for Pure out of nowhere. Looks unstoppable. So somehow, like, Tundra became this team that is unsolvable.
Yeah, a lot of different moving parts towards that puzzle there. But Winter, there's so many storylines that could happen with these top 3. The potential for a 3-peat, the potential for 2 different repeats, the potential for 5 brand new names to go onto that Aegis as well in one roster.
Yeah, like for me, I'm excited to see like Quinn, you know, the last remaining NA hope here. He's going to be carrying a lot of the hopes of the players, and I want to see him, you know, finally lift something big. You know, he's been the one that I feel like has been alluring for him. You know, he won a lot of other tournaments, but yeah, has been not in his chest yet.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you weren't saying for SEA, because Wyvern is the very first Indonesian to make a podium for any international, and then on top of that, he has the potential to be lifting the trophy for them as well, or the Aegis, I should say. Something so important towards them. But let's look at our schedule, because they're not in that grand final just yet. The only team that we do know is going to be Liquid. That's all the way down at the end, though. Before that, we got our lower bracket finals. We'll delve into that one in a little bit of time. But what is going to fill up our space between that lower bracket finals and the grand finals, because our teams do need a break, is the cosplay contest and the short film contest as well there, Jenkins. We got to see all the short film finalists throughout the playoffs. We were playing those within the breaks between the series.
Yeah, every year, this is my favorite day of Dota. I mean, TI is meant to be a celebration of the game, so it's nice to have these other facets of the game, you know, coming in, and we get to have a competition for those as well. I did just want to quickly ask something. You said you think, maybe it was you, that Tundra is the team that is going to go all the way through. Let's do predictions. That's what I want to do.
Okay, you just want to put it out there. You want to be right or wrong.
Because I think we're actually split on for the analysts. Yeah. What team do you think is going to win the whole thing, if you had to guess?
That is hard. Probably Gaimin. I'm going to guess
Okay.
to win it all.
I think Tundra this series, but to win it all, I think Liquid is probably my favorite.
Okay, I thought we were split. I would also say Game. I feel like they got knocked down. They tried the Clinks, they tried the Muerta, it didn't work out. Liquid, they figured out this 5-man death ball, but picked some sort of like gold farming hero with, you know, the Doom and the Visage.
Yeah.
So like 5-manning and doing the thing everybody else is doing, but also like getting that extra net worth and getting the next war item. So that's why I thought maybe we were split, because you said Tundra, but okay, so none of us think that the upper bracket team is going to win the whole thing.
Winter said.
I said that.
Oh, you said Liquid.
Yeah, he did. Well, look, we can't look towards that just yet, right? We don't even know who Liquid are going up against, so I feel like that's not really a fair, you know, prediction to try and make for yourselves. We do have Gaming Gladiators up against Tundra. They've already faced off once before in the upper bracket, and someone who loves to look at replays, give us a little bit more insight, is Purge.
Thanks, Nat. Yeah, they played once already in this tournament 2 days ago, and I want to take a look at what happened exactly. In the draft here, in game number 1, their last pick here was an Alchemist, which is an interesting hero for a mid lane because it's a very farm-heavy hero, but if they can make it work, let's see it happen. However, things didn't go so great for Pure. This is 1 minute and 40 seconds in the game. A really clutch arrow by Tofu gets them the first blood in the off lane, making things hard for him. To make matters worse, Quinn gets a regen rune right at the 6-minute mark, and he's going to use that to gank the top lane. Tundra does escape, knowing that this is probably coming, but he's so fast and he has so much mana, he easily runs him down and gets a double kill. So when your carry is behind, especially a carry of Pure's caliber, what do? You need to help catch him up. And Topson did try rotating to slow down the pressure on the map, but unfortunately, he's a mid Alchemist. He doesn't do that good in these side lane ganks with his net worth. Look at this little engagement. 9 minutes in, Whitemon realizing he's in trouble. Storm comes. Topson just doesn't have the mana between his need to farm and his need to protect his allies. The Alchemist is just kind of falling flat in this game. And if we take a look at the 16-minute mark, look at these net worth differences. This big chunk here is basically just Radiance, an item that helps him fight when the fight comes, but it doesn't really help him equalize the net worth difference, which is a big problem. That kind of lost him the first game. In game 2, they had a better laning stage for Pure. They were pressuring their off lanes with the drinking buddies, some nice right click and movement speed, and the pressure came again for Pure. This is pretty scary for him, but he manages to survive this gank where basically every hero on the map was trying to get him. Very spooky for him. But the problem is that this transitions. Quinn eventually finds a haste rune, ends up finding him in the jungle with a scan and killing him here. Very unfortunate for Pure. And then he spends the next like 10 or so minutes jungling. This is not going to catch him up on a hero like Drow Ranger. Maybe Luna or some other Alchemist type hero. So the name of the game here for Tundra is to make sure that they can stay ahead, not lose lanes, and if they do have the right heroes, to catch back up.
Well, that is one potential way that they could go there. You know, Purge gave us insights. He did all the hard work for Tundra. All they had to do was be watching this broadcast, is that they need to be able to stay ahead. The other way they could potentially go about it, Winter, and Topson said it in his interview yesterday, is try and slow it down. Find a way to stop the snowball trajectory that Gaming Gladiators love to draft for themselves. Liquid were able to do it yesterday, but do Tundra have the same hero pool and the same execution level to be able to do that?
I think they might not have the same hero pool, but I think they could take it out from the Liquid's draft, you know, the bans especially. I think work really well against the Gladiators. You ban out the Brood, you ban out the Lone Druid. I think those are the heroes that caused them problems in the previous series, and pretty sure they're going to at least remove one of those or even both of those, you know, even though they are playing the Lone Druid. So maybe they're going to have to try to look into that.
Yeah, it feels like on the very last day, we're throwing a whole new hero into it. We're saying Lone Druid is going to be the most contested between Gaming Gladiators and Tundra. Every other day, we've always talked about these Sand Kings, the Naga Siren she gets left in, or a Shadow Demon or a Tusk, and now it's the complete 180. We're looking towards that carry and what exactly is going to be picked up for himself and just how great he's doing.
Yeah, I think those heroes you mentioned, like the Nog and stuff, are still going to be relevant, and that's why it's going to be a tough call. Lone Druid, especially in this matchup, maybe not when Liquid plays, but definitely this one. You do have Pure, who's playing a really good Lone Druid. You have Duracho, who's showing he really loves the hero. Ace can flex it too, and this hero has just proven that it looks incredibly strong right now. So I don't think it's going to see the light of day, but that's going to leave something to show instead. Will that Naga get into the pool? Will we see more of these Brood heroes? It's going to be hard to say.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's going to be a next one, because we had Luna, which was considered S+ tier. There was Kunkka, which was considered S tier. Before that, it was Windrunner. Before that, there was Lina right at the start that was considered very overpowered. So I do wonder on this final day, are we going to see the kind of Tundra of old strat where the Lone Druid is left in and then answered, which is very risky given how it looked yesterday. The Lone Druid seems to be quite hard to answer, but
possible, I'd say.
When something is hard to answer, that's when you know that the enemy team is going to pick it. So it gives you that advantage. Or maybe there's something new. Every day here, it feels like there's a new hero that we see that's completely overpowered. It also seems like people are trying to find what that new hero is. We saw Gaiman try to pick up the Clinks, and then Falcons tried to pick up the Clinks. It didn't.
Wasn't it?
It didn't look good, but people are trying things. And I think it makes sense because, like we talked about yesterday, with this Facets patch, there's so many permutations of things that you can do in Dota that there are genuinely these like undiscovered OP things. And if you can find the one that counters the current meta, you will win TI.
I'm actually probably willing to do the trade-off of maybe getting Sniper and giving Lone Druid, you know. I feel like that's probably maybe one of the
risky
answers to Lone
business,
Druid.
Winter.
Yeah, because you outrange him and the hero is just pretty good as well overall in the game.
No, I would agree with that. I think historically speaking, Sniper has always countered Lone Druid. Anything that like slows your bear down and is able to hit you from afar has been nice, but like this Lone Druid is just so different now because like you can, if you really want to, get a I call it a
harpoon.
Harpoon, yeah, that's the item.
That's exactly what I'm worried about.
Yeah. So that is like different now because before you'd kite the bear, but I still think this could be an answer. So like the Lone Druid, the Snipers, Invokers in the pool as well. You know, Sniper might be countered as well by the Sand Kings. Mars is in the pool. These are like the big heroes I'm looking at. And I'm mainly looking at Tundra's hero pool because they're on a tear right now of picking the same exact heroes over and over again. Whereas Gaimin, they lost 0-2. They kind of like faltered a little bit in their drafting, I feel like. They went for like more of like this Morta type of style. And like, that's not something they did in the past with the Primal Beast. So I feel like they probably had to sit down and it was like, hey, I'm not sure what we're doing yesterday. We have to change things. So Tundra's going to be predictable, whereas I feel like Gaming is not.
Yeah. I do know as well when they went up against each other, Tundra and Gaming Gladiators, we heard from Moon himself and he said, we tried to ban out a lot of the summons against Gaming Gladiators. That was their strat. It didn't feel like it was a very cohesive, I don't want to say well thought out because, you know, I do have full faith in Moon and what he's doing for Tundra, but it just felt very basic. This is just what we have to try and ban for themselves and maybe focusing too much on taking away from them rather than picking for yourself.
I mean, you say basic, but I do think that they need to keep it simple, you know, when they try to overcomplicate with the Elk overall last pick and their previous series, that's when the game felt really difficult for them, you know.
I do feel like from what we've heard from Moon, he is a fairly YOLO drafter. We saw in the group stage when they picked the Wind Ranger and then 5 different buffs on the Windrunner.
It was the Mars, then the
Alacrity,
Invoker, and then Mirana support with the Solar Flare.
Yeah, it was a lot. And he was like, we're just trying it. We're going to see what happens. Next game, they did a full minus armor strategy. So he really does just try things. And if it doesn't work out, he goes back to the drawing board.
Yeah. Well, we've tried to point out a lot of how can Tundra look at taking down Gaming Gladiators, getting that revenge. But on the flip side, Gaming Gladiators also now in the lower bracket. How are they going to be able to take advantage of Tundra? The one time that it felt that they might have faltered was when we saw Falcons really focus on banning out those Ramses heroes, try and put him on a smaller hero pool. But that was the trade-up, is he was still able, well, Tundra was still able to get a lot of farm, a lot done on the map with that mid-sniper. That's why I'm very surprised when you're like, I'm willing to make that trade.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, I feel like it's important to consider your opponent's comfort area, like comfort heroes. You want to make them play uncomfortable heroes, and that's going to also be a pretty good advantage for you. There's a lot of things, you know, in the draft. It's very hard to like pinpoint one exact thing to do in the draft. Every drafter has their own preferences and what they like and what they don't like. You obviously also have to consider what your players like and what your players don't like. But on top of that, I do feel like the drafter needs to sometimes be willing to take a risk, you know. Playing it safe, I feel like sometimes it's just not enough for you to win.
I mean, I can pinpoint one thing, and it's this guy right here.
The Mars.
Yeah, I don't think you give Ramses Mars. This by far looks like his best hero. He does so much for his team with this hero, where he's using the fact that you don't get vision in the arena to set up team fights. He's sometimes not even using the spear, just using the spear at first. I think you consider first phase banning it. And then, I mean, we saw him on the Doom yesterday, and he did come in clutch in the late game, but the early game, he really struggled. He was like 5th on net worth or something, which is very atypical for a Doombringer.
Yeah, but then Thompson just carried him to Sniper though, right? Then you're giving the Sniper away. I don't know, if I was like in the coaching seat here, there's 4 heroes I'd ban if they're first pick. It would be Sniper, it would be Sand King for sure, and then outside of that, I would make sure they don't get the Naga, because Naga's too good, and last one's Lone Druid. Like, I feel like you just can't give away those heroes to Tundra. And then if you can in that second phase, sure, ban out the Mars, try to ban out the Kunkka if you can. But I just feel like those 4 heroes right now are impossible to draft against because Tundra are just way too good at them.
Yeah. Something else that, Ramsey does when he does get this Mars is normally your offlaner, there's like 1 or 2 items that they kind of want to get towards before they're really there. And we've seen a lot of focus on a carry being the active one. That's the one that wants to come to the fight. It's your carry and your mid and your supports that are willing to make that space. But on the other side, Ramsey's like, just give me a blink dagger. That's it. I'll make space for everyone else on my team.
Yeah, Saksa, go ahead, take my farm, carry the game. I mean, it works really well for them, Like, I feel like this is something that I like to talk a lot about, like the different play styles of your teammates, and you kind of want to balance everything, and they have a very good balance.
Well, look, we're hearing the horn, we're hearing the crowd, and we have to get our lower bracket finals underway. Let's welcome our very first team. Sunday. They've been on the international stage before. They were runners-up last year. Top 3 is not what they're after. They want to make it to that grand finals, a best of 3, and their opponents are standing in their way. So let's welcome them to the stage as well. They got to stand in Saksa. We're seeing SEA Pride in a white mode. This team is familiar with the lower bracket after their run yesterday. They're not afraid of elimination. They've been on this verge before. It's big smiles across the board for them. Let's see what's going to happen in game number 1, and if those smiles are going to remain, Jenkins.
Well, we have good news for the Gaming Gladiators fans in the audience. Quinn was chewing his gum today. He has a 100% win rate in series in this tournament when he is chewing gum.
Before the series starts?
Yes, I believe he had lockjaw yesterday, and that's why he could not chew the gum.
Well, look, hopefully, you know, all the bugs have been figured out for them. Any issues in their draft, they're shaking off the nerves because Gaming Gladiators or for Tundra, it's going to be a really long day for them when they do make it in the grand finals. But you've got to keep your eyes focused on this game number 1 here. They're going to be taking their seats. They've got their coaches in their booth. Do you give a little bit of a pep talk here as well before you get straight into the Dota talk, or is that already done? You already did that in your warm-up rooms and you're just fully focusing on draft now?
Typically in the warm-up room, yeah, you do the huddle, you do your pep talks, you get all the stress out of the game, just get into it, start talking about the game, and now you just try to relax. You get inside the booth, it's all about just relieving the stress, talking about strategy, and maybe clicking around on your mouse, playing one of your favorite heroes in the demo lobby, one of my favorites, and just making sure your setup is nice and comfortable.
Who was your hero in the demo lobby that you would do before?
Almost always Earth Spirit. A lot of buttons on that hero to warm up.
Oh, okay, you gotta warm up the fingers and everything there. What about yourself, Winter?
Play some Invoker.
Same thing, a lot of buttons.
Classic.
It is the classic there. What I love is we're seeing here on our lower thirds not only our players, but the last meeting that they had up against their opponent, the hero they were playing, and just how well they did it. That Underlord looked fantastic on Ace when he went up against Tundra. It didn't have the same effect against Liquid. Do you think some of the nerves, some of the confidence is a little bit shaken, Jenkins, in those previous picks?
I think today, probably not, because they actually had time to sit down and, you know, go over what happened. I think they'll probably go back to the Underlord if they can and go back to their original strategy. They picked some goofy stuff for Duraccio. I should say they tried stuff for Duraccio because with the lone druid that we're seeing, like people are still trying to figure out the meta, even on the last day of TI, but the Muerta doesn't seem like it's that great. The Glinks is very risky as well. We saw Ace on the Primal Beast. It just doesn't fit the current style that Gaimin is winning with, so I feel like they just need to run back what they did in the previous series, at least one game. If that doesn't go well, then they can go back to the drawing board, because clearly Tundra has made some progress and they've leveled up since then. But I think to start, just do what already worked before.
Yeah, back to basics, right? You just need to make sure what were you winning before, and you have to kind of try to focus on that and maybe make some adjustments in the bans. I feel like just try not to be too worried about your opponents here. I think the last thing you want to be is like just trying to figure out, oh, what are they going to do in this game? How should we deal with it? And just try to focus on your own self, calm your nerves, and just play your game, you know?
Yeah. The other thing I like seeing about all the heroes popping up there is it's refreshing my memory on exactly how that game number two did play out on the side of Gaming Gladiators. They had that Enigma go into the position 5. It felt like, you know, his whole sole purpose was just focus on this puck, try and get this black hole on the puck. Thompson had one of the worst performances we've seen. Ramsey's on the Conqueror as well. There was just massive damage issues coming out from them. And so I wonder, how are you going to combat that? Is it now team fight centric? Is that the answer to stopping Gaming Gladiators? Focus on having more team fight for yourself, Theo?
I mean, I think that definitely helps, but in that series in particular, I feel like Tundra learned a lot, right? And they started picking new heroes. They were running like Drow, Alchemist mid, heroes that just like we don't see. But it was really eye-opening after losing the game, and there's like, we need to start adapting to the meta. They started picking more of the meta heroes there instead of trying to counter what they see. Moon even talked about before, we tried banning out the zoo. That's just never going to work. This is like Gaming Gladiators. They've been running these strategies for 2 years. You can't ban them out. You have to know exactly what you're going to give them and how you're going to play against it. And that's the only way you're going to beat this team. And I feel like that's what Liquid did really well. They put Quinn in position where he had to play this mid DK twice to supposedly counter this Puck and this Queen of Pain, but Nisha had a way around that. Now all of a sudden Quinn is on DK. And they found it very difficult to draft against. Can Thompson put Quinn in a similar position? We'll have to see, but there has to be that one piece that you exploit in what gaming does. You can't ban them out.
Can't ban them out. The Dragon Knight is one that's pretty consistent, all right, being picked up for a lot of teams throughout this tournament, throughout the road to the international and here on the main stage as well. But is there even a chance, Winter, that it just goes completely ignored, not even necessarily banned? Like, what about it is what about Dragon Knight is it that teams love? What does he contribute either in the mid lane or the carry that gives him that flex too?
I personally don't really rate this hero as high. I think there are a lot more other heroes that are more terrifying to play against. I think this hero, it gives you value in the draft if you want to pick something flex early. I think it does provide you with that, but we've already mentioned it, how we really dislike the mid DK, because you kind of don't really use the strength of the hero, because the strength of the hero is he farms really quick with the Fire Dragon, and he scales, and he does a lot of damage. But with a mid DK, sure, you can maybe put it into mid when you see a good matchup, but after winning the lane, I feel like you probably shouldn't really go for the mid items. I think you still need to be some sort of carry, because Quinn went from Mage Slayer into a Hurricane Pike, which kind of felt okay in the beginning, but the longer the game goes, I feel like the hero just falls off completely, and maybe that's not the right reason for picking the DK, you know, and you're not really using the hero.
I mean, the DK scales like a carry, not like a mid, where you're going to be these Puck and Pops building magic damage, killing the backline. You're just building into physical right-click damage. And it's really awkward to get there as a mid, because you want to be on the map all the time, like threatening supports, killing them. But DK can't really do that. Like, you have to just go with your team. It's very linear play style, and then you just have to just farm until you have like a Daedalus, and then you're just like a right-click carry. And that's where it's kind of awkward, because you're missing that magic damage, like full ball hero from the mid lane.
I will say I could see Gaimin leaving the DK in, because this is a hero that was pretty much invented by Pure in the carry position. Nobody else was playing DK. It was falling off. Everybody was going for the Green Dragon form, and Pure was just like, okay, well, this cleave facet is really broken, and he was consistently the most farmed hero in the game. However, we saw the Windrunner with the Revenant's Brooch yesterday. That tore DK to shreds. And that's the thing, DK likes to play these long fights, and he can do that because he can kite with Dragon Form, he's got a ton of armor, he's got a ton of regen. It's just very tanky. Not against Windrunner. I also feel like a hero like Alchemist will outpace a DK because, yes, DK can farm fast with his cleave. You're never going to outfarm an Alchemist. If you can get some auras and then have an Alch get that Radiance plus like 1 or 2 items timing, you will beat a DK. So I guess I see solutions to it, but I also see a team in Tundra that is very good at DK, and I think they'll probably still pick it. So Gaming could bait it in this way.
I mean, the issue with the DK is he's slow, right? And Gaming is probably the fastest team here. You know? That's why we hear them mentioning trying to slow the game down. So if you're trying to slow the game down, is DK even the right choice to do that? You know, because the hero needs to farm a lot.
Maybe. I mean, he can stand in front of towers at least and be very tanky. Like, he can be that wall for you. So I guess it depends on what you want in the draft.
And also, like, I feel like Underlord is a really, really good hero against DK, and you might not be able to ban a lot of those heroes, and Ace really likes playing it. So you have to really consider a lot of things when you're going into the DK.
I do remember as well, yesterday, Fear, you were telling us that every game for Gaming Gladiators over 40 minutes they've lost. They're not a team that this tournament has felt comfortable going late game.
They haven't had to in most of their games, to be honest with you, but the 3 games in which did go 40+ minutes, they did not win. So they don't have a lot of experience probably playing in that late game. They're typically all in on picking heroes that play quickly, buy the auras, and usually it just clicks and they win the game by that point, right? So if you can drag them into that 40+ minute mark, you're probably going to win. It's not a guaranteed thing, of course, but the hardest part is getting there. And that's really where you have to strategize and like figure out how am I going to get to that 40-minute mark against this team, because they typically bring the pressure. And I'm hoping they weren't shook too much yesterday after lost against Liquid, because this team plays fast and they're really good at it. And I feel like one loss shouldn't put you in a position where you change your playstyle completely, which it really felt like they did do in that game 2 versus Liquid here. But you do have the night to think about it. You have to talk to your coach. It should be easy to reset. They've been playing the same way for like 2 years pretty much. I don't see why they wouldn't just revert back to what has been working for them.
There were some fantastic stats, by the way. I do love it that Tundra have a higher average game time by 3 minutes over Gaming Gladiators, but they have the shortest game length. 15 minutes, but also the longest, 67 minutes at this TI. I mean, the fact that they're 2 opposite ends of the spectrum for game length is pretty phenomenal. It does show the versatility, what they're able to do there, but Gaming Gladiators, they were very consistent. I believe that their shortest is like 24 and their longest around 40, so they know that window. They're able to really hit not only the power spikes for them, but the item timing spikes. And we've talked about what heroes slowly being rising in the meta, who has been favoring what, but you mentioned the Wind Ranger Revenant's Brooch. Let's talk about other interesting item builds that happened throughout this tournament that you guys can remember that might also still be worthwhile mentioning on new heroes. Is this Revenant's Brooch only really viable on a Wind Ranger? What is it about it that makes it so good for her that it's like, why had no one thought of this before?
I mean, what makes it so strong is that you are not draining mana when you are using the Whirlwind, and it turns all of your damage to magical damage, which means what people would normally build against it, which is a bunch of armor and sustain and Crimson Guard and these things that are preventing these, small damage instances of physical damage. All of a sudden you have quite large damage instances of magic damage. Nobody's going Eternal Shroud. This item is dead. We're seeing not that many BKBs, and even if there is a BKB, you can just turn off the Revenant's Brooch. It just makes it so this hero feels relatively uncounterable in the game. But it is like a 4th item, so you can still have a timing against Windrunner. I do genuinely believe today, when we see Liquid play in the Grand Finals, this will be a thing. It was against Muerta, and in the previous game it was against Underlord with the Crimson Guard. So you could argue the only reason that he did that was because in those 2 games, it actually happened to be a very good item.
But it's still situational. It's not just, hey, this is a great item.
I don't think so, but I think people are going to make that argument until we see it in the Grand Finals, because I think Liquid is the type of team who discover tech on the final, second to last day of TI, and then use it to try to win TI. I think that's just the type of team they are.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just straight up good on the hero. Like, the specific situations that we talked about, like the armor, the DK, the Crimson Guard, I think those are situations that make it even better. But I think in general, it's just a very, very good item on the hero when you can abuse it without using mana and you're running in late game. There's a lot of heroes that have armor items, so it's just going to be very, very useful regardless,
It's pretty interesting. I think the carry pool right now is incredibly small right now. Wind Ranger has been in the meta for the entirety of this TI, even the road to the International. but it's evolved even further to become from like S tier to SSS tier at this point. So like Wind Ranger, Lone Druid are going to be the best carries right now that I think all the teams are going to be looking after. And on the second tier, I think we're going to have like Alchemist and Luna. And then I'm not sure what's after that. I think that's it. That's the list right there. People are trying to pull out like these Mortas and Princes after that, and they don't seem really good. Those heroes are probably fine if the other team doesn't have one of those 4 other heroes.
Yep, and I think the point that Veer you made on one of the first few days of TI actually was that people just aren't flexing heroes. And when they do, we saw Snaking flexing the Bristle to a 5 position. We saw Team Zero also doing that. It does not look good to flex. The heroes that are good in Dota right now are so good in their position that it's not even worth flexing them. So I think in that sense, today's draft will be predictable, other than the Thompson factor. I think that's the one thing that we've given up on trying to predict.
Yeah, we said yesterday, after yesterday's series, we're just not going to try and predict anymore. There's no more conversation about...
We're going to do it anyway.
You're still going to do it. Okay. I'm so glad you guys love to do that anyway. We did see the small comparison between the hero diversity of the two teams there, all of their players, of what they like to do. Celery having a much higher hero diversity than Whitemon on the position 5 is a bit of a head scratcher, because it feels like we've got so many good supports that you wouldn't really be looking to bring in outside heroes from that meta, you know? There's bound to be something let in that is quote-unquote broken that people love to prioritize, and yet Celery is still finding more. Gaming Gladiators are still able to put them on heroes that aren't fitting that quota of a Tusk or a Naga or a Shadow Demon or an Enchantress. I mean, he's one of the only ones doing the Chen.
You definitely consider the lane, the combination. I think one thing to note is a lot of the drafts, you have a lot of unique ideas between like interactions between the heroes, right? It's how the spells interact, like drinking buddies and the Visage familiars. I think stuff like that, you know, like people are focusing on trying to come up with a way to break apart the game, you know. And I feel like in the support meta right now, you have a lot of options. You're always going to get something really, really good and something really viable. But the main thing is you want something that's going to be able to pair with a lot of the cores that are being picked.
Yep. Another reason in my eyes that this is happening is because a lot of the teams that are trying to beat Gaimin are trying to ban out summons and aura type heroes. And one thing that gives Gaimin a lot of strength is that they will always build the auras, but who they're building it on and what aura they're building will be dependent on the hero. Like they might give Celery Chen, where then he'll go for the mech, and then Ace can go for like a Crimson Guard first on some Underlord. They will always have like a couple of aura heroes, but they'll change up who is building what. So that's why the diversity is so huge, because you, like Winter said, you have these combos, and then also if you want like a Solar Crest hero, for example, you know, maybe you're less likely to go for like an Enchantress, and maybe you're more likely to go for Naga Siren or something like that, you know.
Just looking at the lobby, because I know there's a slight delay for everyone out there. We're just waiting for some players to still join. Maybe it's nerves, who really knows? Maybe they got to make sure everything in their setup is perfect. But we do have our players in there. Do you want a fun little anecdote that I don't think I've said on broadcast about Gaming Gladiators yet?
All right.
All right. Oh, I'm glad Jenkins is into it. Is you see young Dyrachyo there pacing in the background. I have heard along the grapevine, specifically from one of the players, that they like to make Dyrachyo walk during the draft, because if he's sitting, they feel he gets a little bit distracted. He's not really paying attention to what's going on. So they like him to walk, and it feels that he's more engaged with the team and the conversation that way, and CY is doing the one pushing the button.
Yeah, I told you, he gets bored. Yeah. That's why they lose 40 scrims in a row and then still make it to the grand finals of tournaments. Dyrachyo just... he has ADHD. It's all right. You know, lots of Dota gamers do. Maybe his is a little bit worse. He's got to stand up during drafts. But I want to see some Dyrachyo Game 2 Alchemist performance today, where he plays the absolutely flawless game. Actually, I'm fine with either. He can also do the feeding thing. That's quite entertaining as well.
I mean, these two carries are very similar, but different in a lot of ways. Similar hero pool-wise, but playstyle very different. but I feel like they share almost exact same heroes in this meta.
Yeah,
they love the Alchemist, they love the Lone Druid. These are going to be really highly contested heroes, I think, going into this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Luna is the one that is a bit of a question mark for me because Pure had found so much success and it was stopped very abruptly in that upper bracket against Gaming Gladiators in game number 1. And we haven't actually seen him go back to
Falling
it
off.
since.
I mean, he had an Alchemist mid that game, so...
You're saying it's not necessarily
you
the
shouldn't read too much into
That's
that one.
I'm going to do that.
I feel like Luna... So here's the thing. When you target a certain player, they'll have backups. And I feel like they're just not targeting Pure right now, they're targeting Ramses.
Okay. They're targeting Ramses.
Yeah, he's the backbone. Like, he has the smallest hero pool. I think we've said this a couple of times on panel.
You could say it
Their
again.
mid and their carry, they have a more greedy type of playstyle. They have a lot more priorities. So to make this lineup work, this team work, you need an offlane that can kind of just play the same thing over and over again. The same kind of hero that doesn't really need too much, but he's going to be always fighting and making space on the map.
Well, look, I have some good news for everyone watching at home and also here in the arena, is that all of our players are in the lobby and our game number 1 draft has started.
Gaming Gladiators versus Tundra Esports. Game 1.
There's been a lot of talk from my analysts in exactly how they expect Tundra to be able to take up game number 1. On the other hand, you've also given us ways that Gaming Gladiators are going to be able to get the advantage in this series. Let's see exactly what they're going to do. And by looking at this, Tundra have fallen back on this. Let's take out some summons because that Broodmother, that Visage being looked at. Gaming Gladiators, we've already talked about it. You're not going to let through Naga, Invoker, Lone Druid, and Sniper. So
They love Sand King, though.
Yeah, Sand King's in the pool.
it was one of the 3. It was either going to be Sand King, Lone Druid, or Sniper, and they feel that this Sand King is easier to shut down than the other 2.
Yeah, I figured they wouldn't ban Invoker because, like, I don't know if that's like a first pick overall hero, but Gaming feels like it is, and it's an issue for the hero pool, so they had to make their choice. I really think Naga, Sniper, and Lone Druid definitely can't go through.
No.
Sand King potentially can't go through either, but it is going through, so we'll have to see. This hero has looked absolutely ridiculous in some games, especially, I mean, actually Ramses has been really good on this. We saw a clip earlier where he burrow striked in with the Epi, stole the Aegis, a very pivotal point in that moment, that game, and we've also seen 33 just become an unkillable hero. When you get the Bloodstone, and then somehow you get the Vampire Fangs on top of it from the neutral item, and now your hero's just unkillable, and then straight into the Wind Ranger. That was the other S-tier carry left in the pool.
I can understand the Invoker ban. I feel like Thompson looks exceptional on this hero, and we've seen Invoker beat matchups that in historical Dota has never happened, so it does feel relatively uncounterable mid with the new facets, and also the fact that he's a universal hero, and the fact that you can invoke spells during invis means that a player like Thompson, who likes to be incredibly active, can be even stronger in terms of his rotation. So I can understand this. Letting the Sand King through may end up being a mistake. Thompson has not played it yet, but we said the same thing about him playing Viper yesterday, and he was good enough at it. So you do have to worry about that flex if you're gaming. It could still go mid.
I mean, it's definitely a very strategic choice because you think about the strengths of Tundra. I feel like you want to give Thompson an uncomfortable hero, and on top of that, you want to make sure that their offlaner Ramses is playing a more greedy hero. That's what I would try to put their draft into. Like Sand King on the offlane, sure, it's very, very strong now, but it does need to farm a lot. And the games where Ramses, he needs to farm a lot and he needs to be greedier, those are the games where I feel like Tundra, they struggle, to find the balance. Like, who's going to be making the moves? Is Thompson able to make a move? And he needs to find a hero to do that. If he doesn't find a hero to do that, even though the Viper pick, it was really good yesterday, but I felt like he wasn't 100% comfortable on that hero.
Yeah, if I know my Tundra right now, I feel like you ban Alchemist here. You have your carry. I feel like the Revenant's Roach build should not be good versus Alchemist, right? And I feel like that is, I know my Tundra, so they ban the Alchemist there. Now you're in a situation where you don't have Lone Druid, you don't have Wind Ranger, you don't have Alchemist. I'm not sure how this Wind Ranger with the Revenant's Brooch versus Luna will go, but Luna's a high armor hero, so I imagine a lot of the agility carries are not something you're particularly looking at. So yeah, so far Gaming Gladiators looks like they've done their homework.
Maybe we go back to the Weaver. It's been quite a few days since we've seen it, but I
Need to see more though. Like this hero can only be picked when there's heroes like Shadow Demon is good that don't have like hard lockdown.
And you can't kill the bugs when you turn on your ulti on Wind Ranger, so it's kind of good against that.
Yep, true. I mean, I don't think Game is going to pick it, so I do think Tundra can leave it until that 4th pick to get it.
If you're really pro, you could buy Manta, kill the bugs with the Manta illusion.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Not a bad idea.
It's not worth it. Just go the normal build and kill everyone. Oh, I like the Enchantress a lot. This is a hero that Tundra played yesterday, but it went a little unnoticed, or not unnoticed, just we didn't talk about it as much because there's a lot of other things to talk about, but both Whitemon and both Soxa became absolute turrets in the game. At some point, it went long enough. They were just sitting in the backline, just doing probably the most damage in most of the team fights. They can be a very scary hero once you get a lot of farm. It does similar things as Shadow Demon to the Wind Ranger. You can just purge off the Wind Run and just start right-clicking this Wind Ranger hero.
I mean, this pass is really good against Wind Ranger. You get to disable her during her whirlwind. You get to kind of use Snowball to kind of block out some of the damage from whirlwind. So overall, this is a very nice pick against Wind Ranger.
Yeah, and we talked about it. The way that people are countering Wind Ranger is to
survive, right?
Yeah, survive the whirlwind plus BKB combo, and you know, Crimson Guard has been the answer to that, which Centaur is a Crimson Guard hero, of course, on the other side. Let's see. Pipe of Insight, very solid game for that here against the Sand King. You always need a pipe buyer. I think Centaur will probably end up picking that up.
We've talked about this a lot. It's SD Centaur is probably one of the best pairings. And for your disruption, you can set up the stun in the lane if they are together.
I still feel like Weaver with a bracer, so he doesn't die in one hit to the SD Centaur combo. It still looks pretty good. Like then you run Soxa on the Enchantress with the Sand King in the off lane. That's a solid lane. It's range melee pairing. And then you got Tusk plus Weaver, range melee as well. Whitemon's most played hero is the Tusk.
Yeah, it could be good. I definitely don't think it's bad, especially versus Chen, another hero that doesn't have a lot of lockdown. I'm not sure if there's something better. I mean, the Luna doesn't look incredibly bad either. You do have the ability to kill the illusion Shadow Demon with your W now, so it's a little bit of a different matchup.
The Chen creeps are pretty good at soaking up the Lucent Beams from the Luna ult, though.
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways, right? Like, in those early fights, Luna won't be great, but later on, just the glaives will just chew through all the creeps.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
One way or another there. Curious to see what he is thinking about. He does like his Morphling as well, which is a hero that will inevitably outscale this game and has a pretty good lane matchup. Will he play for tempo in the Weaver, or does he want to secure more of like a late game hero into this game? And of course, there is always the Dragon Knight if he wants to go down that route. That's a hero that's been very popular for him. Lots of splash, cleave damage, doesn't care too much about the Shadow Demon illusions. Sure, the Wind Ranger is something that might be a little more difficult to answer, but I still think this is a hero that he is just very comfortable on and just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's definitely really, really good against the Chen. Like you said, I think the tempo is... He's somewhere in between the Morphling and the Weaver. He can kind of do well in the early, mid, and late. Late game probably not as strong as Morphling can, but the DK is like... it gives them everything, you know. Right now, if they need to defend towers early, the DK can show up, deal with some of the Chen creeps, and so he's going to have like a pretty decent lane into the Centaur. And you definitely want to go like the Revenant's Brooch, right? It's Wind Ranger against DK here.
Yeah, I think so.
That's your third item after the Gleipnir BKB?
Yeah, probably, unless the game is going so well and DK is so far behind, the Gleipnir magic damage is enough. But we'll see. I like the Revenant's Brooch no matter what. There's very little anybody can do to deal with it. I guess if they have like tight BKBs, you can go Daedalus instead. But Daedalus also works with the Revenant's Brooch, so...
Does it though? I thought they patched it where you can't crit anymore with it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they did.
So you can't actually... It makes it so you can't buy Daedalus anymore once you go that item, which is the only downside, really. But it feels like in certain matchups it does not matter.
Okay, what is Thompson gonna play?
Yeah,
he's gonna...
Oh, let's guess what Thompson's gonna play. My favorite part of the draft.
Yeah, you guys have waited till the end to do it this time, so I'm very proud of you.
Well, yeah, it's the way the Tundra always baits us too, because I always leave Thompson's hero for last pick unless they get Sniper.
It's a blind hero, blind pick.
Yeah, it is. That's why they banned the Huskar. They don't want to get hard countered. I mean, let's see. What are the heroes the Huskar really hard counters? Because I don't feel like Huskar's a very good hero. unless you can like dumpster mid. What comes to mind is like Ember Spirit, Earth Spirit, these melee spirit type heroes.
Nature's Prophet?
Does Huskar counter nature?
No, I mean...
Oh, you're just...
He's ignoring
Huskar's
that.
banned, so we're moving on. Yeah, Gaiman thought they could pick the Nature's Prophet,
Queen
so
of
they
Pain.
banned it
Do
out.
they need more damage from Queen of Pain?
I mean, they do need more damage. I think they need, not like, obviously Inch does a lot of damage, but that's late game. Sand King does a lot of damage as well, same with DK. But these heroes need time. They need something for that early game damage.
Yeah.
I was looking at like these Earth Spirits and stuff, but not sure if you want to go that route either.
Do you feel right now with the other 3 heroes showing for Tundra, they're not able to make this game go late enough for the Dragon Knight to really come online to have that impact? This is what the mid is going to have to be. You go for those pick-offs and you try and make sure they can't make movements inside a Gaming Gladiator.
Yeah, some sort of active hero.
I was thinking Rubik, but there's terrible spells to steal in this game, so probably not. I don't know, from his hero pool, it looks like Earth Spirit looks likely. Or something new for Thompson, because everything else is banned. Like the Puck and Nature's Prophet were the ones that made the most sense going into this last pick here. They get removed.
Last time we said a hero was likely, we then decided that it was unlikely because it's Thompson. Does that mean we go back around and we say that it is going to be Earth Spirit?
I think you try not get in the minds of Thompson and you just say what's good.
Earth Spirit's very good here.
Okay.
I like Earth Spirit.
Yeah, I mean, Batrider also, they're banning like the mid melee owners.
What is it about Earth Spirit that you like?
Everything else is banned, like the Invoker, the Sniper, the Puck,
I'll
the
give you
Nature's
one.
Prophet.
He's a cheap hero. They don't have a lot of budget now.
Yeah.
They need something that
They spent all their budget.
Yeah, they did.
What do you reckon is the average budget a lineup can have here, Winter? You like to calculate the numbers a lot.
I mean, there's no specific number.
Okay.
It's just based on my feeling. Sand King's going to be farming Ancients. DK wants to farm Ancients. DK wants to farm lane creeps. Sand King wants to farm lane creeps. So you kind of need a hero that is going to pick up the scraps, you know?
One item and he's able to do so much. That's what he needs.
All right, Sand King mid. We didn't really think they would do that because like, oh, they have Ramsey's hero, but Ramsey's like, I have another hero too that's still in the pool, and the Mars, so they're gonna put the Sand King mid. This is kind of a better version of Earth Spirit, the Sand King, I want to say. They both do a lot of AoE damage, but we kind of thought that Ramses would be playing this offlane position, but he's not, so now you're in a position where you see the Sand King mid, and you probably want to punish it. And I feel like there's some decent options left if you want to pick their ranged heroes that can just click the Sand King, but I don't know if you can truly beat this hero in lane. I've thought before, like, yeah, you can beat it with some ranged heroes, but it seems like he always seems to get his farm.
Can you just go for something that's really good in game? Maybe a Timber can speed up the game. Like you play really fast, you're really good with against their heroes.
I don't know if you win the lane though, like, because if you just
I don't think you care about the lane. Just care about what's good for the game, though.
Four melee strength heroes that you're playing as an enchantress that you can't attack, but you do pure damage and kill her through her healing. I actually really like the Timber.
I'm not sold on it, but it on paper looks good. And they're going to go with the hero that just makes it so... Okay, this actually makes sense against the Sand King. And this is one of the few heroes that probably can push him off. Because what happens is Sand King has to right-click the wave, get up close, and just do his caustic stuff. But Viper's not going to allow that. And on top of it, you're going to get your corrosive skin, which is going to keep proccing on the Sand King indefinitely because you can't really control it. And the Sandstorm, they really want to crush this mid lane and make sure Thompson can't get active. It's pretty fast. I think this is definitely punishing for sure. It's on the same routes of the Timbersaw, where you're just going to like crush the lane. You have that massive amount of magic damage to deal with these strength tanky cores.
Yeah, you have the break against the DK, which is always nice as well in the game. But for Tundra, I feel like they have like a double off-lane lineup to kind of slow the game down for these DK, and they are going to be really counting on that to work. They're going to have to also deal with the pressure from the Chen. I imagine the Chen is going to move to the mid lane very early with the SD. You want to just punish the Sand King, take his tower, and Tundra have to be ready for that.
I really like this last pick from Gaiman. It is basically the Timbersaw that we were asking for in terms of it's a melee strength owner, but it is better than the Timber because it will actually do very well against the Sand King lane for the reasons that you guys listed. And if they're making space for a DK to farm with these two offlaner type heroes, DK gets broken by Viper as well, so it also solves the win condition of Tundra. I think Gaiman found a very good last pick here with this Viper.
Well, look, luckily we're ending on a positive note for Gaming Gladiators because we're heading on down to the stage with Slacks and their coach, CY.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello Copenhagen! I'm here with CY, your Danish heroes here today. The last out there, my friends, and we're gonna talk, oh my goodness, you dropped something before you went in the booth. Did you need this? Oh no, here, put it with your papers, my friend. You forgot that. You want to talk about that? Was that on purpose, or?
No, that was my mistake. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be here after TI anymore. We'll see.
Okay, come on. Seriously, you gave him Sand King first pick. Is this okay? Are you prepared? Do you feel like your draft will handle this?
I think it's okay. Like, there's a lot of strong heroes right now. You gotta prioritize a bit, and it's not like you cannot beat some heroes. You just gotta play well and get some good stuff against it, and then you'll be fine.
Well, it's been an incredible journey for you so far. It's quite a scary team to be going up against. What are the confidence levels? Are you kind of happy that you're facing off against Tundra? Do you think that you know these guys very well? Because you have so much experience with this team.
I think we know them very well. I don't think we're afraid to play anyone. I think we are playing European teams all the time. So, but I'm happy, honestly. It's gonna be fun.
Fantastic. All right, and guys, I gotta let you give it up for your local representation. Just one word here to the fans. Anything to say before we get into this game, my friend? Have your moment.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed. All right, well, let's get into that series. Let's check out that game, and let's start the action with our casters.
It's early in the morning here in Copenhagen, but I see a stadium filled all the way to the top with die-hard Dota fans. To kick off the last day of TI, Copenhagen, are you ready? It's been a long journey for us to be here in this arena. It's taken 13 years of internationals for TI to come back where it all started. 2 decades of this game's history leading to us being in this moment right here, right now. So I ask you again, Royal Arena, are you with me? That's what I'm talking about. Let's get this game started, and let's get the last day of the International going with Gaming Gladiators versus Tundra.
Couldn't ask for a better setting, and you might not be able to ask for 2 better teams outside of that final boss awaiting the victor here in Team Liquid. Watching on as some of their nemesis for the year are going to duke it out in this lower bracket final. And all eyes are perhaps on this man here, the crowd favorite Thompson, in a very difficult matchup, a melee hero versus the Quinn Viper. Let me tell you something, Austin. I'm a little familiar with Quinn, and I'm a little familiar with his hero pool. You give this man Viper, he just starts to foam at the mouth, because all of a sudden that lane just becomes completely in his control, and he is very experienced in lane domination, perhaps the best mid laner in the world in terms of mechanics, and this is a very one-sided affair. It is not a question of what can Thompson do here, it is a question of how much Quinn takes advantage of the matchup. It's going to be a tough one. We saw what Malrine was trying to do yesterday with the Monkey versus the Viper. Just roam around the map, look for some moves, dodge this lane as much as possible. Could be a similar story here. The one upside is at least you can build some stacks with the Sand King and go into that jungle with a bit more efficiency.
Now, you say you know Quinn, you got some history there, but I believe you also have some history with the man across from him in Thompson, and I believe Quinn also knows Thompson pretty damn well, as they've had a few matchups and a few TIs before. And you said that this man is just a force to be reckoned with on the main stage, at International specifically.
I mean, I can speak for it, but I think every player who's gone up against Thompson and had their TI dream shattered will also speak for it. In some ways, this man is the Grim Reaper of this stage. He is the last opponent you want to face. I can tell you that from personal experience. It's going to be a very tough match for Gaiman, particularly since they fell down here, right? This is a team that's used to kind of, once they figure out the meta, they own the tournament from there. And this has been a big misstep for them against the foe they're very familiar with in Liquid. So I think Tundra have the momentum going into this match. They're feeling very confident off of a strong win yesterday.
And perhaps that fear and that momentum is exactly what Gaming Gladiators are trying to address so early on, shutting down the mid lane, but it's the off lane that is in trouble, where Tundra find first blood on Tofu.
Really nice setup here from the Enchantress. Pure will get the last hit, exactly what you want, but it is not often you get that first blood on a safe lane Dragon Knight. Tundra supports striking first and striking early here.
And they managed to get a hard camp pull off of that as well. So that's going to pull that creep equilibrium all the way back to the tower. Tundra putting themselves in just the driver's seat in this safe lane, headed to success. Check out that other safe lane, perhaps Gaming Gladiators, see if things are going a bit better there. It's the Dyrachyo Wind Ranger up against the Ramses Mars. I mean, Ramses been killing it with this hero so far.
I got it last, too.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised he got in such a good position, right?
That's the Sand King bait. The flex potential coming through. We're already seeing Thompson go to that jungle. He was definitely suffering on that mid lane. Early Satyr creep on this bottom. Going to be a very nice creep. Burn out the mana from the 2 melees. Give you extra mana regen for the Wind Ranger with a very strong early nuke. This is going to be a tough lane for Ramses, but we've seen him get out of a lot of these. In fact, CS-wise, he's doing perfectly fine here.
Yeah, he's killing it. So many denies. 16 and 6. Dyrachyo only 13-1, so Ramses definitely getting the better of this engagement so far, despite the harassment. The harassment, though, does continue in the mid lane, where Thompson has to burrow strike away from Quinn just to try and stay alive. He is getting ruined right now. Almost a full level up on him is Quinn. This is the way the matchup's supposed to go, right? And he's just going to have to look for recovery elsewhere.
Nice little Centaur rotation.
Okay.
Maybe deny a water room?
That's exactly what happens.
That is big. These are the little things you want to do to skew this matchup. And I was about to say, yeah, a lot of this lane is same thing versus Viper. But what this game will come down to in terms of this mid lane potential is the support rotation. How much does each team utilize the advantage that Quinn's created here?
Oh, this is so cool. Look at Whitemon.
This is so valuable for Thompson.
Uses the enchant on the Centaur to get some good harassment. They're even going to try and go for the kill. With the last second, Centaur's done. No way! To get the kill on the Viper, all thanks to this beautiful support player. And Whitemon, who does die, probably microing that Centaur. Bit of focus on there. Does lose some of the focus on the safe lane. It gets caught for it.
I mean, that is still Omega worth it here. That is just insane microplay from Whitemon. Completely turning this mid lane against Quinn. Not a kill that should have happened and not one Quinn expected at all.
And now, if you're Gaming Gladiators, you got to be kind of, oh, we picked a Viper against the Sand King to win the lane matchup.
And look at the CS.
Yeah.
3 behind, and he had that kill. And now, even if the Sand King rotates around the map or goes jungle, the damage is done, right? You alleviated a lot of that early game pressure. Thompson, he's just going to linger up top, look for a quick support pickoff. The Ghost will add some extra slow.
Tofu.
Once more, the creeps.
He's done. He is done.
Dude, Whitemon is owning this early game. No way around it. He's already level 4. This is before the Wisdom Rune comes out. This is an Enchantress dream right now. And Viper is a very susceptible hero to the early roam, especially if you can combine both supports here for Tundra. There's a lot of potential on the map right now. You have a gate rotation available. You have a purge for the Wind Ranger and the Enchantress. Very interested to see what Whitemon can do from here, because I mean, this is every 5 player's dream. A start like this on a very capable roamer, a hero that can affect every lane in the early game. Take your pick right now.
Battle for the Lotus is here. Let's see who clicks it first. It is Ace this time around. A second Lotus is added to his inventory. I think the crazy thing is that this Sand King now doesn't have to really lane at all, right? I mean, he's so proficient at being able to jungle. He can just play to these neutrals. They're going to let Saksa take the experience on mid. Maybe he dies for it every once in a while, but he's going to get some levels, and his Sand King is free farming in the meanwhile. Has to snowball to dodge some of the damage here, but he will be pulled back into his doom as Gaming Gladiators will punish the support left solo in mid. But the punish on the other side is Tundra going for Ace here. All those Lotuses, though, triple bracers, a hard kill to be able to get in. Thompson has overextended himself, and Quinn puts him in the dirt.
Triple bracer chainmail plus a healing Lotus. That is not an easy target to bring down. They just don't have the early damage. And that was a very important rotation mid for Gaming here. You want to snowball the Viper. Quinn is still dominating the lane. He's still decently ahead. Those rotations just add that snowball effect and give a lot of experience toward this Chen as the Wisdom Rune.
Oh, the spear doesn't come out in time, and it misses. So Tofu manages to nab away the Wisdom Rune, and he might even get the kill on Ramses. Lobs out that blood grenade. A poison trying to latch, doesn't find its mark, and Tofu will be unable to get that kill. and perhaps is going to die here as Saksa is going to try and keep up with him. Tofu, is he going to go for the Ancient deny? Dodges the spear, goes back to the Ancient.
Wasting
this
so
little
much
move,
time.
trying to break some ankles. He will get brought down by the God's Rebuke, but as you said, more and more time, more attention from Tundra forced to their side of the map.
And we have seen these 7-minute Wisdom Rune steals just win games. Like this is a huge swing in the experience department, especially for a support duo that was having a pretty good early game between this Enchantress Tusk. Now they're going to fall a bit behind in terms of those early levels. Level 5 for Celery already. The counterpart here in the Chen to the Enchantress. See if Celery can make some of these early rotations work. He likes to go into this top lane, kick the enemy carry out, pressure this tower if he has the levels and the creep to do it. He's in a decent position to make that kind of move right now. In fact, secures a power room for Quinn. This is a deadly power room at this point in the game.
Oh yeah.
This is a kill into a tower if you give him the opening. This amp damage is just going to rip through an objective.
There is kind of, though, that pressure to do something with that amp damage, right? Because you know the Sand King's just farming away this entire time. You've got to start taking objectives soon. And Dyrachyo, he's going to be in a bit of trouble here. Got him inside the arena. Ramses gets the pin as well, and they have the damage. Thanks to Whitemon, again, showing up at the right place at the right time, hits the enchant to get rid of the win run. Back to middle lane where Saksa continues to suffer. Obviously, there's not much he can do about a Viper kill. Does manage to get that kill and tries to hit that mid tower, tries to hit the Dragonite as well. Thompson was thinking about trying to TP to help out, but he realizes that is a no-go and has to stick up to this top lane, canceling his TP.
Really nice snag bottom for Tundra, but they're getting pulled across the map right now. Cancel TP on the Sand King. The towers are getting pressured. This mid tower is gone. That amp damage room plus a solo kill for Quinn. He strikes back.
Oh, Tofu spotted. Didn't hit the Burrow Strike. Will hit the epicenter. That's going to slow him down a little bit. And the shards will keep him in the AoE. Saksa makes sure that Thompson is able to deal the damage. Thompson, you can see, is playing defensively just for fear of more heroes coming to assault, but not the case.
It's also Stampede used per game, and these Stampedes are going to be really influential in the early game, either for the gap close to find your target, help the Viper out in the fight. That one did not save Dyrachyo bottom, but he will make the rotation anyway.
The win. Nice shackle shot. Still, though, Dyrachyo's going to be surrounded by heroes. Where's Ace to be able to help out here? The Whirlwind is doing a decent amount of damage. Can't quite finish him up. That power shot misses. Thompson slips right past that one. Saksa is now going to be the target of Gaming Gladiators instead, but they're running through this sandstorm constantly. Still, though, Saksa slowed down by another blood grenade.
Oh, gets out.
Get his drinking buddies all the way to Thompson. Pulls himself out of danger.
I mean, Saksa God right there. Gets the kill, gets the bailout. Even the Viper rotates up here, but Quinn is too late to the party. They defend this tier 1 top, and meanwhile, another quick kill for Ramses on this Mars. He got it last in this draft, and he's already put it to work. 3-0 start for him, as Whitemon will help him deal some extra tower damage down here on the bottom lane. Pure cutting mid as well. This mid lane's been annoying for Quinn.
Where does he go? He just keeps on going into the neutrals to try and take some of that away, but...
No, he has to kick out Thompson top. He has lingered way too long up here.
Snowball, oh, it's going to pull him straight to Quinn. This is a dangerous position. That's why Thompson's going to try and get out with the Burrow Strike, and the Saksa Tusk follows him right away with the drinking buddies again. This duo is just too mobile for Gaming Gladiators to get the hold on them.
Just don't have good lockdown answers early. It's another TP for this Viper. They do get Thompson out of this top lane, but their catapult dies. This tower push is going to be a bit slow. Very frustrating early game for Gamenez. You're looking at these net worths, and Tundra very happy with what has happened here. They got out of the laning phase versus this last pick Viper, versus lanes that were potentially difficult, and basically won, well, all 3 for their cores at this point. Thompson is not behind at all.
Saksa, he's going to be running into a ward, so there's no way out. No heroes to pull him out with the drinking buddies this time around. He goes to the creep wave, surrounded by 3. So he should finally pay the price. He's just going to do what damage he can, stall as much as humanly possible. But it does seem like this top lane is finally going to be forfeited by Tundra. They lose that hero, and they're going to lose the tower as well.
Pure taking advantage of this moment to clear through some of those ancient stacks. He is getting very farmed. We've seen some crazy GPMs on this Dragon Knight. He's going to have another pretty free game here. It's Thompson catching up mid, and the tower being pressured by the Dark Soul Summoner. So Whitemon continuing to exert pressure on the map. They're fighting for the 12-minute power rune. It's a dangerous route.
Got him inside
Quinn.
the arena with the epicenter. He went for the save. He tries to stop Tofu's disruption. Looks like they'll have him surrounded and killed. But what about Quinn? He picked up an Invis rune, comes out of that one to try and put some damage on Ramses. He regrets that decision, though. Trying to use the Stampede to get him out of here, but the chain stuns. Make sure that he's not going anywhere. Wait, the Centaur stun. It comes through. Stalls him up still. Snowball gets him too. Quinn can't finish him, though. No more damage left in the tank as Gaming Gladiators pull all their heroes to help out their mid lane.
3 points in corrosive skin plus all the Chen heal, enough to keep Quinn alive as he mans up for the rune and is rewarded. Gaiman, this is a team that's going to bring everybody to these sorts of skirmishes. Tundra, I think they felt like they had the numbers advantage, but you never have the numbers advantage against this team in the first 20 minutes. And this is not a fight that Pure was close to coming to, so you're just outnumbered 5v4 in the end. And that's the power of Stampede in this early game. It's going to be able to recreate the gap for the Viper or get him onto the target you need.
Quinn trying to do the Ancients, runs out of resources to do this stack that is there. 7-9, Tundra. Very slight net worth lead, pretty much even game right now. Some 14-minute Wisdom Runes are going to be coming up soon. Right now it seems like a battle of just the same King and Mars who've been doing pretty well for Tundra in the moves that they've been making. But as you said, the moves that they're making, they're running into 5 of Gaming Gladiators. Is this Gaming Gladiators' typical strategy of just moving multiple heroes around the map in congruence. It is causing Tundra to bleed a bit.
The thing is, I think Tundra should be fine just playing the map in a way, right? They have the Sand King and the Dragon Knight, the 2 heroes that are going to farm the most during these downtimes. Like, Centaur's not going to match that. He wants to make moves with this Blink that was just finished for Ace. Duracchio's a bit behind in this game. No real huge stacks for him to catch up on. So Gaiman are the ones who are kind of pressured to find the pickoffs here. They're going to try and land this smoke on Ramses, but he did sniff it out, but not fast enough.
Yeah, they smoked underneath the ward, but Ramses still gets caught in the corner of the map. As smart play by Gaming Gladiators. They used the Blink and the Stampede to get instant damage on Ramses. Make sure he wasn't able to use quick fingers to get out of that.
The thing is, this is a smoke that it's not yielding you a lot of map control right now. And if you look at where Tundra are on the map, Whitemon continuing to cut this mid wave with this troll. He's getting tier 1 tower pressure. The DK's clearing through both Ancients, and the Sand King's vacuuming up the bottom half of this map right now. You really need to convert these moves into more map control of your game and get deep wards out. Swing to the other side of the map. Right now it's Duracchio clearing out the junk. Not really what he wants to be doing. Tundra are getting a lot right now. And it's just going to be a fast BKB for the Dragon Knight Pure, so he might opt to try and fight earlier in this game and deal with the death ball Gaming are proposing. Gearing up for the early Roshans.
Bit by bit, they will take this tower, or somebody will. Duracchio will deny it instead. Getting a little gold for himself and take it away from Tundra.
Gaiman's still lingering up top. I mean, this is where their vision is. So ideally, they want to keep killing up here.
Oh, Ace is there on the other side. Thought that Viper Strike wasn't going to be enough, and it wasn't. Ace really helps out getting that kill. 700 gold for them off of that pickoff. And perhaps a little damage on this tier 2 is not much of Tundra. He's going to deal with this. Ramses, he's playing deep on the other side of the map. Going to be cutting waves and everything. It seems like Tundra are trying to avoid fights right now.
Yep.
Do you feel like they are good to scale late game? Because we have seen this matchup a couple times in this tournament, specifically with Liquid, right? The Wind Ranger versus the Dragon Knight, and we've seen this item build that makes the matchup very different. The Revenant's Brooch, they would pick up like 3rd item. Do you think that changes the matchup of Wind Ranger versus Dragon Knight enough that it goes to favor Gaming Gladiators?
I think it changes it a decent degree. In theory, Tundra have an okay lineup versus the Wind Ranger, right? You have Tusk and Chu are both solid supports at dealing with her. You have a Dragon Knight who's, in theory, a good core-on-core matchup. The Mars can do a lot versus Hero as well. If you survive the Whirlwind here, I think you win the fight as Tundra, because a lot of the damage just disappears, and your cores are going to win that long duration. But this Wind Ranger is not really a normal carry. You know, let's be honest. This hero has a spell that just procs everything on every hero. It's been rare that you have that type of mechanic in Dota 2, and the only other one I really can think of long-term is the Medusa Talent, which was not really built into the hero early on.
Yeah.
It just does so much damage that I think you could always win late game with Wind Ranger in 5 or 6 slots, as long as you get a good opening into the fight. So Tundra really need to be careful about how they take the initiations and who they go on. particularly this Viper, right? Like, are you bold enough to jump the Viper first in this game with the amount of backup he has in a Disruption, in a Chen heal, in a Stampede, and then give a good opening to Dyrachyo to come into that fight after you commit onto the Viper? That, I think, could be the most dangerous way to take the fight if you are Tundra.
Yeah, that's a good point. It seems like Gaming Gladiators are going to be presenting kind of this wall. You don't want to go on the Viper, you don't want to go on the Centaur. You got to get to the back line. Tundra do have the heroes to jump past those tanky heroes with a Mars, with the Sand King. Both are going to be getting Blink Dagger, and even the Dragonite, I assume, at some point is probably going to be rocking a bit of mobility. So just a question of whether or not they can get around these big tanky frontliners and into the back line, catch that Shadow Demon like they did in the top river, go for that Chen and stop that heal that comes out.
Gaming, though, they found a decent amount in this period, particularly for Celery. This Chen is starting to gear up. You're going to have some nice aura timing between the Chen and the Centaur, which is what Gaming are looking for here, as he will match the Dark Soul Trumpeter pressure on the map. Tundra making a smoke of their own, looking triangle. Only Tofu here.
See some stacks that are happening. They know where the support is going off of those neutrals running that direction. And they'll get Tofu in the process. The arena make sure that there is no escape with the Dragon Form. They can maybe take some of these neutrals as well. Not a huge stack, just a double, but still worth to take away from Gaming Gladiators.
Still a Wisdom Rune sitting here too, but it did not get scouted. Tundra do not know it's there. Interesting smoke play, not really for any specific timing. They just wanted to get Pure involved in the game and felt like maybe there was a large Ancient stack they could steal off that smoke kill.
Sure.
Little economic damage. This is a bigger prize, though. They find Ace deep on their side of the map.
Trying to stampede away. The snowball pursues. He managed to get the blink out. Drinking buddies.
No punch.
Gets pulled close, but the punch doesn't come out. He stands there for a second, goes up. That's that one up.
I'm not sure if he got body blocked by the creep. It looked really weird. Nonetheless, that is a lucky escape for Ace. Barely gets out of there, and he's found a lot of farm in this period, looking towards a pipe of his own. These aura timings are really important for Gaming. They need to be able to get a lot out of them when they arrive. Can't bleed heroes around the map right now, as Tundra are hitting some strong teamfight items between the Bloodstone on the Sand King and the BKB. We'll see he does get a right click off.
He gets a hit in. He just didn't have the Walrus Punch activated.
Yep.
So then he has to wait for his next hit to come in, and it's all gone wrong for him.
It's a big miss. We usually do not see that kind of misplay from this man, particularly on one of his signature heroes. But maybe just not expecting he was going to get there in the first place.
Still dead even, not much action happening in the last 5 minutes when it comes to kills. There's been these movements, but not really finding purchase as Gaming Gladiators and Tundra seem to be circling around each other, but it seems like this even game is favoring Tundra by a healthy amount at that.
Yeah, they're just going to farm more of the map during these downtimes. Like, Gaming need to group up and get an advantage. They're continuing to bleed some supports. Tundra just pushed the lanes in, making the better moves right now. They have an Arcane Rune on tops, and that Bloodstone is done, and they're just working towards BKBs. They already have Pures. He hasn't had to use it yet, and they're going to get a Mars BKB. They're going to get a Sand King BKB second item. They're going to have a nice triple BKB timing by the time I think Gaming's ready to group up with their Greaves Pipe potential. It's going to be a tough fight for them if they want to force the Roche. And I wonder, Tundra, do you just try and do it before Gaming are ready to take that 5-on-5?
Knowing that Gaming Gladiators, they've done this for years at this point in time, this aura buildup, what is Tundra doing exactly that is combating that timing?
They're not letting them group. They're continually pushing in all the waves. Especially Whitemon. He has lived on Gaming's side of the map. He's cut mid-wave a lot. He's sending creeps to some of these random waves. He's farming out their jungle. It's been really annoying for how Gaming wants to play the map. This is also one of the downsides of Viper. Like, Viper is strong in that ball, but he's not great when the map gets split up like this.
Yeah, and he's not particularly good at pushing in the waves really quickly, like some of these heroes on the side of Tundra.
He's just clunky. He's a clunky hero, and Tundra are abusing it right now.
Back and forth, you can see that heat map of just Whitemon constantly playing basically on the river, on their side of the map, all over the place, keeping Gaming Gladiators, as you said, a bit split. They've got a 4-man crew right now, with Dyrachyo farming a different part of the map. They're gonna, on the other side, Tundra's gonna deal with their Tormentor, pick up the 21-minute Wisdom Rune. Very efficient stuff.
This is super efficient for Pure. Mask of Madness Armlet build. This is quite a throwback. It has been incredibly good on this hero. He also got the Grove Bow. Been some nice neutral item pickups in this game. Vampire Fangs for Dyrachyo, I think.